Okay, just going to give it a second. It's just pushing live to Facebook. So excellent. All right. Hello, everyone. I have the distinct privilege of being here with Alex today. Alex is our amazing friend from BC Distilled. And I'll start by just introducing myself. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Tara Doherty. I'm PADS's Director of Communications. And Alex is, what's the official title, Alex? Founder?
I don't have, I'm the founder. So yeah,
founder.
I'm everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
The founder of BC Distilled, one of our very favorite events of the whole year. And I'm so glad you're here, Alex. Folks, when you're on, if you have questions, if you're watching on Zoom, you can throw them into the Q&A box. If you are watching on Facebook Live, just throw them in the comment section and we can answer them for you. But with that, I'm going to let Alex introduce himself a little bit and tell us a little bit about this amazing festival that he has created. And we are so glad to be really, truly back in action this year, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So this is, we could say this is either the 10th anniversary or the 8th anniversary of BC Distilled. We obviously skipped a couple of years in there. So it's our 8th festival, but it started back in 2014. So this year we actually have 39 distilleries plus a few other exhibitors, and we all gather at the Croatian Cultural Centre in Vancouver on May 13th. And people can buy tickets. You buy a ticket and then you can just come and try what you want. We're going to have close to 200 spirits there to try. So far too many for people to try. You have to be a little bit, you have to plan a little bit to see what you want to try. And, you know, there's everything. There's whiskey, there's gin, there's flavor gins, there's liqueurs, there's absinthe. I think we have 3 absinthes at the show this year. Lots of different types of vodkas, brandy, Amaro, vermouth. It's just, there's no end to the variety of products that are available. Yeah, and so you could just buy a ticket and show up and try what you like. And if you don't like it, you pour it in a little bucket and go and try something else. And then, of course, the best part of the show for me and for many exhibitors and a lot of our attendees is the fact that we have all the lovely staff and volunteers and dogs and puppies from PADS at the show. And then obviously you guys are there to raise some money. So we've got a very nice auction and 50-50 draws and all kinds of lovely things. So that's BC Distilled in a nutshell.
And I think the part that is always the question is, what do puppies have to do with spirits? And and I love the fact that this is a partnership that has grown over the years. And but I know you've answered this question before. But where did this? I know the answer, but tell our viewers where did that connection come from?
So, I mean, obviously I'm an animal lover and a dog lover specifically. And we'd run the show for several years with a sort of very loose partnership with another organization, but there wasn't really, it's a big organization. They weren't putting a lot of effort into it and we just weren't getting much out of it. I thought I need something else. It was time for something else. And I had friends who had raised a couple of dogs, PADS dogs. So that's how we learned about the organization. And I thought to myself, I was like, maybe I should see if PADS wants to participate. And I thought that's ridiculous because we have nothing to do with dogs. And I'm like, so I actually reached out to my publicist to just get a second opinion. And I said, you know, what do you think? And she's like, yes, do that. So I reached out to Laura, who got back to me right away. And we just went from there. So they have nothing to do with it, but why not? It doesn't matter. It's a fun event. And I think, you can speak to this more, but well, especially we saw last year, where you were having pandemic puppies, and this was a good, I mean, it's a little bit overwhelming for them, but it's a good event for the dogs to come to and get some exposure. I mean, people
Yeah.
aren't crazy at this event. It's a pretty calm, it's not like a a beer festival full of 20-year-olds. But it's actually works out in a lot of ways that I hadn't thought about when I first thought about this. And really, for me, it just was, what a great organization, and oh boy, I get to pet dogs. So yeah.
Well, and I think that the beautiful part is the impact that your organization has had on our organization, certainly financially, for sure, because every year there is kind of substantial kind of revenue that kind of comes in to help fund our programs and our life-changing dogs. And I know a few years ago that kind of generated a sponsorship for a very sweet little dog, Vesper, that you guys got to name, which was lovely. But I think that, making that impact, but I think also giving PADS the opportunity to be out in the community and in front of a new audience of people that maybe have never heard of us. And I think it's one of those things that we really value at PADS is those partnerships that allow us to reach people what we do and why it matters. And so for those of you that have not attended BC Distilled before, we're going to talk a little bit about what does that look like? What can you expect when you show up? And I'll talk about it from the PADS perspective. Alex has kind of touched a little bit from the BC Distilled perspective, but there's typically a 50-50 draw, and PADS kind of mans the coat check, which means that, there are dogs there with bells on ready to kind of welcome you as you arrive. We also are so grateful for those that are participating in the festival. So many of the distilleries contribute these extraordinary baskets, some of their spirits, and those are going to be at BC Distilled. And so you, in a silent auction that you can bid on. What am I missing, Alex? More folks can buy spirits at the festival, yes?
Yeah, we have a liquor store. So we partner with Legacy Liquor, who's kind of show up with a pop-up shop. It's for one night only. It's the biggest selection of British Columbia spirits in the province. It's probably the biggest selection of locals. No, I guarantee you, it's the biggest selection of local spirits in the country for one night only. Yeah, and it's. I mean, I explained it at the beginning. It really is. It's you get a little glass, and some distillers will pour tiny little cocktails, but mostly they're just pouring little samples of spirits. And we've got 2 rooms and just a few other, like we've got someone who does shrubs and a couple people, one who does sort of a non-alcoholic canned spirits type of thing, and another vendor who does ginger beers and tonics and things like that. So there's a few options there to maybe clean your palate and get some more liquid. And then also at the beginning of the show, we have a couple
spirit adjacent products.
Yes. At the beginning of the show, we also have a couple of food trucks outside. So if people want to come and just grab a bite to eat, a half hour before the show, it's a great opportunity to come get a grilled cheese sandwich or something like that. Yeah, and then come and try what you like and interact with the puppies, and bid on some great products that the distillers and the other exhibitors donate. This is going to be, there's a few things in there this year that I think I might want to bid on. So it's a pretty pretty exciting lineup of stuff.
That's awesome. Okay. Well, I think it is, as always, going to be wonderful. And you touched on this at the beginning. Actually, I'm going to stop for a second and just tell folks that if anybody has any questions, sorry, I'm just double checking that there isn't any, but if anybody has any questions, feel free throw them either in the Q&A box if you're watching on Zoom or into the comment section on Facebook Live. If you have any questions, I'm here with Alex from BC, the founder of BC Distilled. And we're just talking about this event that is coming up in just a few short weeks. We're not even missing. Hey there, Alex?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, so last year, as you mentioned, we had all of our pandemic puppies that came out, and these were, extraordinary little puppies that were raised during the pandemic, which I don't think a lot of folks realize, like the impact that that had on our organization, in the sense that puppies need that exposure and socialization, and kind of for better or for worse, it also taught us a few things that sometimes slow and steady wins the race. Where puppies used to, at 8 weeks old, kind of hit the ground running. We did see some nice things as well. We had some other issues crop up of puppies that never get left alone. There's some other kind of behavioral things that show up for us. But sometimes that slow and steady is nice. And what was nice about BC Distilled, as opposed to like, okay, let's go out to some street festival or something like that, that's really loud and there's other dogs, and or people are super, young and rowdy, as you mentioned, like beer festival type vibe. It was it's definitely a festive environment without being an overwhelming environment. And so our puppies are kind of there on rotation. And you can meet and greet with them, but we'll have a variety of puppies coming throughout the show. So Alex, talk about what the flow of the show is. When is it start? What time should people be there? All that good stuff.
I will, but first I want to mention on the flip side with the puppies, a really interesting thing. I think last year was our 4th year together, and I only noticed it last year. The crowd at BC Distilled has always been good, even before we partnered with Pads. But one of the things I really noticed last year as well, which is a cool thing about having the dogs there, is I actually think it relaxes the attendees in a way that I hadn't really noticed before. And I think it relaxes them first because just dogs, but also it gives a different focus, which is something that was, I have no data to back this up, but I noticed it. And I think it really is a lot of these events, if you go to wine events or beer events, like the purpose is to, sometimes they have music or whatever, but really the purpose is to go and consume this alcohol. And it kind of takes people's attention away from the spirits, which is actually a really cool thing. Last year, it just came to me that this is something that was happening. So it's another, for me, it's another huge value and a really interesting thing. So the event is May 13th, from 6 to 9 p.m. We do our best to get people in as quick as we can. We could kind of pre-check in a bunch of people. Most people show up right at the beginning. We don't actually, for this event, we don't actually sell to the actual fire code capacity, which I think a lot of events just sort of stuff as many people as they can in. It means we make less money, but it also makes for a much better experience for people, I find. So you can show up at 6 and it runs right until 9 o'clock. Most people are, by 8:30, it's calming down a little bit. It's more than enough time. Your palate is going to be fatigued. We do publish, so if you buy tickets, we publish the list of all the products being poured in advance, so you can actually, we have a program as well, but it's not in the program, this is just put online. So you can go in and see what you want, and we indicate what kind of spirit it is, whether it's a gin or a flavored gin or a whiskey, but also whether it's new to the market and or new to BC Distilled. So for people who maybe come every year or been in the past, they can, they want to try something new. It's an easy way just to skim through and go, okay, these are the, maybe these are the gins that I want to try that I haven't tried before, or look at all these new whiskeys that are that are available. We also have a couple of smaller events leading up to it. Unfortunately, we have a whiskey tasting at Legacy Liquor, and that's sold out. We have a few tickets left as well for an event called New and Different Gins, and that's on Wednesday, May 10th. So a few days in advance, and that's another way if people want to maybe attend BC Distilled as well, or maybe not, but this is just a seated guided tasting where we'll take people through 9 different really interesting gins, or gins that are new. And when I say interesting gins, for example, Odd Society is releasing a strawberry gin, which is so good. It's so good.
Pears exactly.
Yeah.
Adding it to my list.
We've got a gin from Fernie Distillers. It's called Splitting Pears. It's a pear flavored gin. We have an elderberry gin from Arbutus Distillery in Nanaimo. I'm looking at notes now. A raspberry gin liqueur from Wayward Distilling in Courtney. And this one is really cool. It's so different. A black gin from a distillery called Antidote Distilling in Parksville, Port Alberni. I always get the two mixed up. In Port Alberni, which has got, he actually has vacuum distilled mushrooms in this gin, and it's amazing. It's not an overwhelming mushroom flavor. There's just a little bit of earthiness in it, and it's such a cool gin. So if you want to maybe go, okay, let's focus on gins and get some stuff out of the way. That's another good opportunity. I think I've got maybe two or three tickets left available for that. If people want to just a quieter sit down guided event, and that's led by a woman named Charlene Brooke, who knows more about spirits than anybody. And so she's fantastic.
Sounds great. So if folks are interested, bcdistilled.ca/tickets is the URL where you can go get all the information. Obviously, bcdistilled.ca is all the information about the festival. Yeah, you can go and buy your tickets. I encourage you to buy your tickets in advance. We do have a couple questions. So Sandra's asking, will you have or promote any non-alcoholic distilled gin-like products like Seedlip, anything like that?
So that's a great question. So one of the things, and I know Seedlip, one of the things with BC Distilled is right now we only do products from British Columbia. So that means if we were looking at something like a zero proof, there's very little zero proof made. Sheringham makes one, and I actually tried to get them. The name escapes me. Too many names in my head right now. But Sheringham makes some really nice zero proof spirits. But unfortunately, I couldn't convince them to come to the show. They're growing very quickly and very busy. So unfortunately, no. But we do have one called Edna's non-alcoholic cocktails, or Edna's non-alcoholic tonics. I can't remember. So that's really they're really there to try to fill that specific market. That would be more akin to what you might see with the with the canned cocktails, except it's a zero proof canned cocktail. So they'll be there. I'd like to see more. I think it's definitely a growing sector, but I mean, I set my own rules, but it's called BC Distilled. So it really is about making sure that we have BC products there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay. Well, we will look for the ones that you mentioned for sure. There was also a question, Gerald was just asking about applying for PTSD dogs. So Gerald, our list is open, so you can go to pads.ca/apply. And of course, that's a lovely segue back to why we are doing this, is being able to place these life-changing dogs. So at pads.ca/apply, you can see information about all our different program areas. And some of our lists are open for direct applications, and then some of them you can just kind of register interest. And once we have space on our wait list, we will send you an invitation to submit a full application. But our PTSD program, you can apply straight into the program right now if that's what you're looking for. So go check that out. And that I think is actually a nice segue back to kind of closing off about why we do this every year and why PADS is so grateful for folks like Alex who come out and say, hey, I like gin and I like puppies, and I think they go well together. And we do too. It's such a fun event. And I think you're right. And, you know, it's funny, I have a couple of roles at BC Distilled when I go out, but one of them that is my very favorite thing is walking around with Cadence with a mouthful of 50/50 tickets. And Cadence likes to sell tickets, and she's very proud of the fact that she outsells all the humans. But I mean, who can resist a golden retriever with a mouthful of 50/50? So yeah, and they do come slightly slobbered on. That's part of the charm. But she's also proud of the fact that sometimes people have bought multiple strips from her because they also cannot resist a second time. So she's our secret weapon. And we're looking forward to that. But I just love the energy of the festival. Everybody that comes out, all of the vendors, et cetera, that are there, just there and so willing to share knowledge and time. And I'm a little bit, I love spirits, all sorts. I'm a bit of a whiskey girl. So, but I also feel like I'm a little bit, I need to learn more about spirits. I always just kind of taste things and try and decide what I like. But I also love to learn from the vendors. So I think that's another really, really nice part of the festival is just how willing folks are to share their knowledge and experience and kind of talk about their products and kind of take that time. So
Yeah,
just a very lovely evening.
it's one of the, so I should have mentioned this before. One of the requirements with BC Distilled is that distillery staff have to attend. So I don't require the distiller to be there, but I'd say in more than half the cases, probably 3/4 of the cases, the distiller is there. But
Amazing.
I don't, you know, for a lot of these, a lot of things like this, you know, spirits or beer or whatever, you get reps, which sometimes the reps are very knowledgeable, but a lot of times, you know, their knowledge is going to have, you're going to run up against it, especially if you really want to learn. You might run up against the limits of what they know about the product. So at BC Distilled, and it's exactly for that reason. It's so you can ask questions and be really confident that they're going to know the answer because they're probably the one making the spirit. And if they're not the one making the spirit, they're working in the distillery every day. Maybe they're, you know, out front in tasting rooms, but they know the product. So there doesn't mean you can't have reps there, but there always has to be at least one distillery staff present at each table. So ask away. They love talking about their products. And, you know, back to that point that I don't actually sell to capacity. I do that specifically so that you don't have to wait with 10 people in line and, you know, stick your hand through a crowd of people to get that little sample. You can actually get up to the table and talk to them and ask them.
Yeah. Well, absolutely fantastic. Well, I'm so looking forward to it, Alex. Anything, final thoughts? If anybody has any final questions, fire them off. You can either click the Q&A box on Zoom or post them in the comment section on Facebook Live. But any last thoughts, Alex?
Just thank you for having me. I am grateful that you guys are coming back. I know you're a big organization and this is a good festival, but it's not a, you know, we're not a giant event. So I deeply, deeply appreciate PAD's presence and continued partnership. It's a ton of fun and I'm looking forward to seeing everyone in 11 days.
Well, we are so looking forward to it as well. And there's a few folks saying thank you and hi in the comment section, so you can take a peek at that after the fact. But yeah, I think everybody's excited to be back, and I know we are. So we will see you in, I don't know, 10 days or so. I'm trying to do the math.
It's
here,
11. It's 11.
11 days. Okay, he's like, I need all 11 to get ready. So yeah. Okay, well, I will let you get back to it because I know the week before an event is busy. So thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to chat with us. And also thank you just for your continued support of PADS. And we're so, so grateful that this partnership continues each year. And we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Tara.
Thank you.